All right, hey guys, welcome to our first edition of NoHu Live. Today's Sunday, Funday here in West New York with the Parker Cafe, and we're just going to be talking about things that are important to us. One of the things that I just wanted to get started with is really what NoHu represents. NoHu is what we're starting to use as a community, as a group of friends. A couple of us have different projects going on. Mine is called NoHu Collective. Joanna's a big part of it. She helps me with social media. Casey's really big. He knows a lot of stuff, a lot of different topics that he's going to be pitching in with a lot of his ideas. And we're just going to keep it really casual. This is it's meant to be a collective of friends, of neighbors who just want to have open discussions about things that are important to us. So if we just start with what NoHu is. So NoHu is short for North Hudson. And North Hudson is a group of towns starting with North Bergen, Gothenburg, West New York, Union City, Weehawken. So they're all tiny towns. And so we have Jersey City, we have Hoboken, and they're also part of Hudson County, and so Secaucus, but those are really big places. They have their own character already. They have movies that have been set in those places, and we have our towns here that have so much culture and so many interesting people and so many different ideas, and everybody has so much to contribute, but we don't really have a kind of unified identity. And if we just take all of our little small towns and create like one unified identity, we can have a pretty big cultural movement, a phenomena going on here. So that's what that's about. And the NoHu Collective really means that we take a collective of neighbors, of people and residents, diverse, living in Hudson County, North Hudson, specifically those towns that I mentioned, and we create one big project together. And so part of that is the website that we're working on, the NoHuCollective.com. We're going to look for content creators, writers, historians, people who are just interested in anything. If you have a project that you have going on that you've been dying to do and don't have the time or resources to do it, then hit me up and let's work together and let's incorporate your project into the NoHu Collective. It's meant to be very organic. It's meant to be community-based and community-made. So on that note, let's go into Casey, and he can tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll go to Joanna and tell you a little bit about herself, and then that'll give you some background to the topics that we want to get going.
Awesome. Hey guys, my name is Casey. I grew up in Passaic County. I'm a Wayne Patterson guy. Recently moved to Weehawken a couple years ago. My background is primarily in the startup space, so I work with different startups, helping them scale their back office, talent acquisition. So my specialty right now is working with smaller groups and helping them grow and really achieve a better sense of community. That's what I love.
Hi guys, my name is Joanna. I grew up in North Bergen. I was born in Queens, lived in different areas of New Jersey. I am a chess teacher. I've been running my own business for about 2 years. And really just sharing my curriculum with different schools all throughout New York and New Jersey, mostly underprivileged neighborhoods. I've been working on my curriculum for about 15 years, so I'm really happy that I get to share that with different kids, help them and inspire them to become excellent problem solvers and leaders. And I'm happy to do what I love as well.
Awesome. And Joanna and I met many, many years ago when we went to college together. We were in the same dorm. And I was studying architecture, and Joanna was studying engineering. And so that's another really interesting phenomenon. Maybe we can talk about it at some point. But we all, we've particularly our generation, because I'm 34, Joanna's I think also 33.
I love how
Casey?
27.
27.
You always question.
I never remember.
I always forget to.
But you can basically say we're in the same generation, or a very similar generation. I don't even know if you would call it millennial anymore. I'm kind of lost as to what the definition means anymore. Apparently everybody wants them for their business, to grow their business, and they think that we're the biggest consumers. And maybe that's true in some ways, but as millennials, or whatever you want to call us, we've been through a lot economically. And so we were promised this dream that we just needed to follow this linear path, and you would take out your student loans to pay for your rising costs of wanting to have a higher education, and then we were stuck with them. And it's really, that's one of the things that's holding us back. And if the economy wasn't working for your particular field at the time that you graduated or didn't graduate or started working, you had some really tough decisions to make, and that's what happened to me, and I don't know if that's what happened to Joanna, but and I'm sure a lot of people out there are in the same boat, and so we've had to do, take our skill sets and all the things that we've happened to learn along the way, whether it was in school, whatever we were studying, or on our own, or whatever interests us, and just, create our own other projects and create our, define our own different path that we were taking. For me, I went into e-commerce, and I started my own brand, and I really got into branding, and from branding I had to learn marketing because I needed to market my brand, and from there I learned e-commerce because I knew that the brand that I was trying to sell, now that we're talking about small business and we've segued into that, I wanted to have my own business because I figured, it's really difficult to get a job. At that time I was like maybe in my early 20s, and I didn't want to go into architecture anymore because it just wasn't paying and it was oversaturated. So I was like, let me start my own company, and I started a brand called Spoil My Bitch. And it was, I thought
Dolce rocked an outfit yesterday. It was a beautiful outfit.
I thought it was perfect for me because I'm a quirky guy and I wanted to do something that was very tongue-in-cheek. And so I said I wanted to do something that I could afford to do because I needed to buy inventory. So I bought a bunch of inventory of dog clothes, and I started talking to all my friends and telling them to have their dogs model my clothes. And then I wanted to sell it on the internet, and I started creating an Instagram, and one thing led to another, and I started taking on consulting jobs in e-commerce, and then I started just working in it full time, and that's what I'm doing right now. But I learned so much that I became an expert on it, like a real expert on e-commerce and digital marketing, and I got amazing experience, and now that's what my career is. But I started in architecture.
It's crazy how non-linear it is, right? We're on this path.
Yeah.
It's like, you gotta do this. You gotta climb this ladder,
Right.
and then, takes a spin.
I know. And that was always my
Should we give a
dream.
shout out to the compassionate educator for jumping in.
Compassionate
Cheers.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Cheers.
But it just goes to show you guys, like, I did get a little bit upset that it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out, but at the end of the day, it was an amazing experience, and it got me to where I am today. My partner and I just bought a house last year. It's a beautiful house, and we live on 79th Street, and we're going to start renovations this year.
Congrats.
Thank you. But that just goes to show that, you develop your skill set, you define your career, you don't have to feel bad that things didn't work out the way that you wanted it to, or that it wasn't linear. You just got to keep going forward. Just keep going forward. And when it comes to small businesses, most of them fail. Most of them will fail, so you have to know your market, right? Like, what do you want to say about that? Like, what would be some of the lessons that you would want to teach people who want to start their own small business?
I don't think it's forward. I think it's like half a step forward and then 30 steps backwards, and then another half step forward. I started when I was in high school. My family, they had a leather business, and I was like, I don't want to tutor the rest of my high school career, so I started my own company right next to my parents, and that got me my taste of what it's like. And I realized that is an experience that kind of gives you the most learning hands-on, and I really recommend, if people are passionate about something, that they give it a try. Failing is cool. Like, that's acceptable, and that's what you need to really learn and
in fact, like,
build
it's
some
grit.
Build some grit. Yeah.
That's literally
Absolutely.
one of the main themes that I have ingrained in my curriculum, and like what I do with the chess is teaching, not just teaching the kids how to play and theory and all that, but how to just lose and learn from your mistakes and just fall. And it's okay and that it's okay to fall multiple times and get back up eventually, just if you keep on trying.
Well, and I think
as long as you keep on trying.
We look at social media and we put people on pedestals, and we have this notion that everything needs to look presentable, or like it has to be validated, and you don't need that. You just need to learn, and you need to find what you want to do and what you're passionate about, and give it a shot. Doesn't work out.
Absolutely. But you talked about something earlier before we started the segment, which is like really sticking to me right now, and it's the importance of small business in communities. You mentioned, what was that quote that you mentioned?
So I got to give credit to whoever it is, but I don't remember it. But they were saying, business is like the salt of life, and that we go about our 9 to 5. We go through our daily lives, and businesses at the point where we are now, everyone's looking for profit. They're looking at all of these idols in business, and it's not just about chasing the bottom line. I think,
Right, profit.
right? I think businesses add flavor, right? And you look specifically at the small local economies. Local businesses really bring people together because, sure, you could go to ShopRite for that bar of soap,
Right.
but if Roger owned a soap store, you might not stop there. Right?
I personally would.
And some people will say, why would we do that when you could go to Amazon or you could just go, hey Alexa, buy me soap.
Yeah.
The same way some people would want to go to ShopRite.
But
There's a group of people that
people
would.
like
They get their
experiences.
discounts, they get their coupons, they've been going there for years.
And there should be.
And
So
it's
like that
fine.
diversity of business is really important.
Right.
But what small businesses bring is that experience. It's going to a store that was built by a dream, and that dream wasn't driven by profit. So you can clearly tell when you walk into a store that, like a Walmart or a ShopRite or any of those big box chains, and you realize that everything's driven by price, by discount, by price, by sale, by volume, and it feels very impersonal. And a lot of times you feel like you just want to buy something because it's on sale.
Sure.
Because you're saving money. Because there's this like satisfaction of feeling like you saved money, but you're buying something that you don't actually really need.
In the same sense that we look at people and we're like, you need to vote, you need to make your voice heard. You vote every day with your dollars, right? And if you want to go find the cheapest thing possible, go on Amazon, do what you gotta do. But personally, I would love to see small businesses conscious spending of money, right?
Yeah.
I would spend a few extra dollars if it meant the person next to me is going to be that much better, and I know them, right? Because there's a connection there. So I'm not so attached to my purchases that they have to come at the cheapest price always. I'd rather go for the quality of the experience or the local community at large being better because of my purchases than just going online and serving myself.
Yeah, because it shouldn't always, it's not to say that convenience isn't important. Convenience is really, really important. You want to be able to take your car, drive somewhere, and get everything that you need in one shot. And so there's always going to be value there. And they're just going to have to, honestly, things are going in that direction anyway. So I think we're just speaking about what we're currently seeing. Stores are going to have to downsize. They're going to have to get smaller. These big box stores are going to have to figure out what's important to their consumers. What should they carry? Do they need 10 aisles of snacks and cookies and things that are refined?
It's an old school way of making money, and they try to sell things in bulk, and that appeals to big families or people that feel that maybe buying a lot is how you're going to save because you're going to get it for a less price, and you're going to need it later on.
I think for some things
that's
for some things that makes sense, right? If you're having parties, like if you need to save money on certain items, that's cool.
And time. Like, you also don't want to go to like 5 different businesses to get those 5 things you need. Sometimes you just want to go to one place, and I think that's what makes Amazon so addictive for everybody. Everybody knows that like anything that you want to buy, it's going to be at Amazon. But at what cost? Like, you end up having a cost.
I honestly, I don't know, maybe I'm just not in the loop, but I honestly only have purchased college books from Amazon.
Sure. Do you have Amazon Prime?
I did. I think I tried.
So that's the thing. Once you commit $100 a year to Amazon Prime, in the back of your mind, you are invested in shopping with them.
But don't get me wrong.
And it's a brilliant business model.
Right, but I'm no longer in school.
Nothing against Amazon and all that. Like I respect what they're doing to an extent. Like the convenience factor is huge. Like sometimes you need that on your doorstep the next day. Sure, but I think what a lot of small businesses are experiencing is they're getting discouraged and they think they can't compete with these larger businesses.
It's true.
But like you need to leverage the technology of today and
now you're talking.
Community, right? That's what it's about.
Now you're talking. And that's exactly what we're doing here today is what everybody should be doing. Whoops. We got a call. Sorry.
And our first caller is
calling.
Hey Mamita, we'll take your call in a few minutes after these messages. But yeah, what we're doing today is a perfect example of what everybody should be doing in their communities. And so Parker Cafe is a little cafe that I discovered kind of by chance because I signed up to this app that everybody right now, like if you're not doing it, you need to be on it. It's called Nextdoor. It's a great little app. It's kind of like a Facebook but for your local community, and it's great because you can talk about anything from, oh, hey, I lost my dog, to, hey, I need some sugar, I ran out, to, hey, I have a flat tire, hey, I have some extra muffins that I made in my dinner party, do you want some? Or dance lessons, guitar lessons. I mean, you can really find anything on here. But one of the other things you can do is you can start rating your local businesses and talking about them and sharing, making recommendations. And so people move in the area and they're like, hey, so what's new in the area? Well, anyway, going back to how I found Parker Cafe, there was a guy who posted about wanting to start a local theater group. He's like, I want to get a theater program going for the kids in the area. And I was like, that's so amazing. This is exactly the kind of thing that I wanted to find, that I've been looking for, not just for like NoHu Collective, but just in general. Like, I'm really into community and I really want to figure out how to find different people who are passionate about different things and taking all those different passions and creating one big project. And so through him, we met at which is like right down the block. Also a really cool restaurant in the area. It's on Broadway and 79th Street, 78. It's called Aum, A-U-M. Anybody who's in NoHu, everybody knows that place is just a bomb.
Wait, and shout out to Cuomo and Sons next door. Because let's not leave them out. They're right next door.
I mean, there's
They're
so many
a different
gems.
Experience. It's really good. I just gotta say, I went there. Cuomo and Sons. I went yesterday. With my friend Jen, and we walked our dogs at Braddock Park.
And it's been there forever.
Yeah.
Actually, the Cuomo and Sons owner, they used to own Aum. They sold it and then they bought it back.
I haven't seen that's okay, great.
So it's a really cool story. I have to actually email the guy because he has a really great story.
They have amazing cold cuts and prosciutto and
the prosciutto and their fresh mozzarella is
amazing
to die for. And they have French bread, like baguettes. So if you do all of that, that's like a really nice Sunday morning.
They have a lot of Italian,
Funday Sunday.
Like,
I think we need to turn this into a meal.
Waters.
I know, we're getting all hungry.
I know. Whose muffin is that?
I know, I'm gonna eat it. We're gonna eat it.
Okay, I'm gonna take it.
But the thing is, like, I found this guy, and then he's like, oh, hey, let's meet at Parker Cafe, and so it ended up being that I met him at Aum first, and then we met at Parker Cafe with like another theater director who also brought another theater director. We had all these theater professionals meet very casually in the back room of Parker Cafe, and then we ended up talking to someone in the group. Ended up talking to the owner of Parker Cafe because I had a limited amount of time. I had to rush, and it ends up being that he ran a nonprofit. He runs a nonprofit here for to help people from Latin American countries.
It's important to engage with everyone that you meet anywhere. I meet people
that would never happen in
everywhere.
Walmart. I'm just saying.
No,
you never have that experience in Walmart. You can never ever have that happen in Walmart.
Look at Starbucks.
That'll never happen in Starbucks. I mean, it might happen, but very, very, very unlikely.
But to know that there's a mission behind what Parker's doing, makes me want their coffee a little more.
Absolutely.
Same.
I feel so great about buying my coffee. When I drink, not only is it like the most amazing coffee, by the way,
it's delicious.
Amazing coffee.
It's great.
I had a cappuccino.
I'm still having it and enjoying mine.
Yeah.
And to know that behind this, there's a mission that they're
And
going
passion.
towards. Like there's passion. There's something going. Like that's what we need.
Exactly.
You know? I don't think we can go out there and he's not going to call the cops on us and get us kicked out. It's a friendly, warm experience.
Absolutely.
And
Totally.
I mean, just tying that into an experience again. That's what we're trying to push with the community.
It inspires me to participate.
But do you know what makes these kind of things happen? He's actually from, I think, Williamsburg, the owner.
That's a few owners around here are from originally, they've had.
I'm not gonna hate.
Brooklyn.
I love Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn's a really cool place. I think
unlike the haters in Brooklyn.
I know they hate us.
Always hating on Jersey, but whatever.
I was there last night.
It's alright. We're nothing but love here.
I respect Brooklyn.
I do too. I have friends. I love Brooklyn too. I'm not gonna hate.
But I think Brooklyn again has a strong sense of community. It always
Absolutely.
has. You know?
Sure.
And if they come here and they're settling here, they're bringing with them a wealth of information,
more
and
diversity.
from living in Brooklyn.
Absolutely, we embrace it. Come on by.
Please come on by. Please help us transform our community because I grew up here thinking that this was a shithole. I'm gonna quote Trump. Not gonna lie. And you know, because I lived in Murphy Place. I grew up in Murphy Place. I grew up on 57th Street. I grew up all over the place. I went to PS3, PS1.
I grew up on 39th, way more downtown.
I lived in that area too. On 41st and
I still live
Turnpike.
there now. But I had a different experience here
Yeah.
because I lived in the suburbs, and then I got to compare, and I realized...
You did live in the suburbs.
I don't know.
I was a suburb guy.
Yeah.
But guys, like, living here
I
when you
love
were a
living
kid was like gangs, ghetto. You know, you would go to class and people could barely read and write. Like, you were in class and you were like, what the fuck is wrong with all of these people? Everybody came from troubled homes. Like, there was a lot of
but
violence.
then there's like drugs and all
There's
these
drugs.
other things in the suburbs.
But you know
Yeah,
what?
it's
All
a
these same
difference.
people are the most amazing adults now. Like, and it doesn't matter how tough everybody's childhood
Right,
was.
let's talk about that a second. So if
Yeah,
we're
different
talking about
problems.
those stigmas, the ghetto, the people.
Yeah.
These people are typically products of an environment, right? They're forced into a corner more times than not. That's representative of a bigger problem. You know, so not to say that they're without
It's
fault.
boredom. It's boredom, and then the need to have this like exciting experience or to break a rule is there. I think amongst the youth.
That's what
But
it
then
is.
they
That
just
excitement
manifest.
to break a rule.
But it manifests differently because of what's available. So in the
Yeah.
suburbs, you break the rules at keg parties, which was my experience, which I had never experienced before coming from North Bergen, living on 39th Street, which is where I still live now. I went where freshmen in high school, sophomores in high school were having keg parties. The parents were buying the kegs. Kids were experimenting with all sorts of drugs early on. I would have never
But that's
seen
how they
that
felt
here.
empowered. And you know,
I
that's
would've
where
never
it
seen
comes
that
from
here.
empowerment.
Right.
We're living in a time right now where we are more polarized than ever, right? We're all on different sides.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you look at everyone's motivations, I don't think they're that different, right? We want to make sure we're safe. We want to make sure our families are taken care of.
Right.
Like, people have the same fundamental values, you know, looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yes.
We all have the same foundational needs that we want to feel good about and feel like we're covered. And we can achieve that with community. Like, you can do that. Whether the person next door is a gangbanger or is a ghetto, they still want their family to be okay.
Right.
And they still want a sense of belonging. Everybody wants a sense of belonging.
That's it. That's what we're looking for. And I think that message, if that's the core message we push forward, it should be able to break into the richest 1% or the bottom.
And at the end of the day, we
Social
can tie
tax,
this
it doesn't
into
matter.
what we're doing here, which is to create a sense of community and togetherness, and that takes care of so many different problems like the ones we're talking about right now.
Give the kids
Give the
something,
kids something
to do,
to do.
something
Right.
that inspires them.
Right.
Actually, we had an incident recently in Gothenburg where a group of teenagers, like 14, 15-year-olds,
Yeah, I heard.
on 70th Street and Broadway, I think, or something like that, they just jumped some 36-year-old guy, so an adult, and it just makes you, that just goes to show, like, you may think you're safe and you never know. And kids, you know, they look like kids, but when they're in groups, they could be dangerous. And they slammed his head into the ground, they killed him. Someone died in this area. And I remember thinking, why isn't there a bigger uproar? Why does this feel like it's being brushed under the rug? And then I started to talk to a lot of different people, and everybody's like, yeah, that's what normally happens in this area. Bad things happen. Because it's not about blaming, it's addressing the problem. When that Parkland shooting happened, what happened? All those teenagers said, fuck this shit, enough is enough, we need to stand up and discuss this gun problem. We're gonna get together and we're gonna go to the media and we're gonna shout at the top of our lungs, we need people to listen to us because we're dying. Now, only one person died here in Gothenburg, but one is one too many. Like, why do we have to wait for 17 people to die to address a problem? The community should have gotten together and said, hey, we need to address this gang problem. What's going on with these kids?
Again,
what can we do?
Right.
And you know what? On next door, where I was telling you that out, the police sergeant was talking about that whole incident and how he felt about it. They are going to engage those kids. They are going and they're going to have these discussions, but I think we should be discussing it as a community
Absolutely,
too.
and it starts here so that we can start to relate and feel connected to one another, because that's really the missing piece, is that we're only living in our own bubble.
Yeah.
And those kids could have been one conversation away from rethinking that action. Right? You know, they could have been one role model away from doing that. And I think we have this obsession with terrorism and being
Yeah.
safe. The answer to being safe is knowing your neighbors, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more you know your neighbors and the more comfortable you are with them, the faster you'll be like, who's that guy? Like, what are they doing?
Right.
Right? Or can we help them?
Right.
Not just knowing your neighbors, but being comfortable talking to people who are not like you. Because one of the other things that came from this incident that I was telling you about, when I went into NewJersey.com, for example, and I started, this is the worst thing you can do, I know, don't judge me, but like I'm always reading the comments. I want to get the pulse of
You're in for a long
God, once you start going into the comments, you're just like,
it sucks you in.
there are so many racist people in New Jersey.
You
Immediately I made it about race.
People say shit just to say shit. I'm convinced you can't really think like that sometimes, but I'm sure there are.
But I want to understand them, and so I go in there and I'm like, I just want to hear what they're saying, and I want to understand their mindset. And so then I start going into their Facebook pages, and I see the kinds of things that they post, and I'm like, wow, these people truly live in a bubble of their own ideas. They never get out.
It's smart to understand the people that are working against you.
You should, and you should always try to understand people that you disagree with,
Absolutely.
and you should engage with people you disagree
Almost always boils down to fear. I think.
Of course, it is
fear of what you don't understand, right? And you know, there's this whole polarizing movement between the rural communities, the southern communities, the city slickers, and I think it's just lack of empathy and lack of understanding.
It is lack of empathy,
and that drives fear. And what we don't understand, we act irrationally about.
Right.
So bridging that gap and trying to get people to say, okay, we fundamentally want the same thing, we just think about it from different angles. That's the first step to being open to learning something new.
But you said it, you touched on it. Empathy is really important. How do you teach empathy? You can't teach empathy.
You don't. It's getting out of
one of the problems.
Hey guys, I've been trying for a very long time. I come across students, I'm not an expert, but I'm an educator, and my background is in education and psychology, and it's really interesting when you look at the way children behave and the dynamics between them, and it's almost they display antisocial traits with one another, almost like sociopathic. They don't relate, they don't have compassion, they don't have empathy, and you hope that as an adult, that usually happens is that you grow out of it and then you start to relate to others based on their experiences. But in my experience teaching chess, I've come across students who just don't have it, and they're a little older, and it's really difficult. They're ruthless, they don't connect, and it's hard to teach. You have to kind of just show through example how it, or maybe show them how it would feel. But then again, you don't know because their ability to connect to others isn't really
I think
there.
a lot of it comes down to how quick we are to group people, right? Because let's say you're in an argument with a conservative or with a liberal, and you start speaking about your viewpoint, and then all of a sudden you're thrown in a bucket with other conservatives or other liberals.
Tribal.
That person, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're judged and based on that collective understanding, and then almost immediately your opinion is invalidated in their mind because they already have a preconceived notion of what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I like to entertain crazy thoughts and just say, you know what, you're not crazy. I just don't think that way. But
Agreed.
as soon as you start, when you start labeling people as crazy, or the latest thing I'm hearing is like libtard, like whatever, all this
latest. That shit's been going on for so long.
I've been called it.
Because you
where did that even come from?
you take things out of context that have been connected with certain categories,
Right.
and the categories are always changing.
But
so
my
their
thing is
their power comes from the ability to piss you off. Like that's the common theme that I see a lot with these
you have to ignore
so-called conservatives. And I honestly look. My family is conservative, so I know what conservative is, and what I'm seeing online is not conservative. It is quite literally just trolling and bullying.
Well, because we
It's
reveal
hateful.
it,
And liberals are guilty of this too,
we're
for sure.
transparent with our passion.
So
They get to know their enemy and how passionate we are, and so they know where to poke.
But let's break that down for a
that's why I
second,
don't.
right? So recently with the NRA conversations, I've heard a lot of people saying, what if they come for my guns, or I need this for protection, or I need this in case whatever. If you don't agree with that, okay, but entertain the conversation.
Of course.
Hear them out.
I have actually.
So I started going down that rabbit hole and talking to people and seeing there's a real, genuine fear that their lives might be in danger. So
and it's not unfounded completely. Like, if you look around at what's happening in the United States, there's every reason to believe that we are very unstable.
You know, so to the people that still support the NRA and still support that, like, there's a deep-rooted fear that I understand. I just think we're going about the solution and the execution in two different ways.
Absolutely.
But the fear is not crazy. Like, you can fear for your life and want to have a gun to feel safe.
Sure.
Some people might not. Some people might
Also,
not.
I think
but like, it's fair for them to feel
Absolutely.
like that.
Right. I was gonna say a lot of those fears I feel like are irrational.
No, they're not. They are irrational. So, okay, so look, it's hard to make a blanket statement because for many people it is irrational because they are they're just living in a bubble of fear and they're not really understanding things as a whole or seeing things in context. But the truth is that if you look at the media and you look at the stories and you look at all the problems we're having and the world that we've inherited or the world we've inherited, we've had time to adjust to. But you look at baby boomers and older generations, and for them, they didn't just like inherit this. They've been watching it happen overnight. So for them, it feels like things are accelerating. Yeah. The problems are accelerating. That race issues are accelerating. That violence is accelerating because they see it more on now, not only in their TV channels at a certain hour for the news, but it's 24/7 news if they're really stuck on it, or they go online and it just continues to get reinforced. So you're in this constant culture of fear. And the only thing that makes them feel secure, to be honest, when they watch movies and they see these themes get reinforced in everything around them, guns is the only thing that they feel they can protect themselves with. And so they don't want to feel like anybody's coming for their guns. And even if you say, we just think that you shouldn't own a military-style weapon, they're like, yeah, sure, I know that that's what you're saying, but that's what it starts with, and you're just opening up a can of worms to come after everything. Because once what they feel is, because it happens on their side too. If they give us a win on gun control, then that means we're going to have the momentum to now start attacking everything. And it's not like there aren't liberals out there who are saying we should take everybody's guns away. There are countries who have no guns. We can't do that. We have to accept that America's a gun culture.
But that goes back to local. Coexisting.
Yeah. If we had a community, and this, yes, you're right. If we go
part
back
of the conversation to drive the solution forward, I like to entertain the craziest what ifs, the craziest scenarios, and that understand like what we conceive as irrational. Some people, if you understand why they have that fear, it might make more sense. You still might not agree with it. It might seem irrational. But entertain their conspiracy theories, entertain the wildest thoughts, and who knows?
But talk to them, you know what I mean?
Talk to them and
figure it out.
Like, now look at religion, right? Where people are like, oh, Islam, or it's wrong, or Christianity is right, or who knows, right? Like, for you to say your religion is right and others is wrong is very, very...
Right, we don't even... It's
and that's the problem.
And
that's ego.
And it could be so simple if we just look at it, and also, like, your truth, many truths can coexist.
Mm-hmm. Many truths can
your
coexist.
truth can be a truth for you, and if it's not for me, that doesn't mean it's not for you.
But now we need to differentiate the truths and the facts versus opinion, right? There are some things out there where I think we're pushing the line, like this whole flat Earth movement. Like we need to be careful how much we entertain. We do need to lean on science to the extent that we can. Entertain other theories, but realize like, hey, this is where we've come so far. Let's not regress, right? And being open to new conversations is cool, but I think there's a fine line, and the media is distorting quite a bit of that lately.
It's also, the flat Earth thing, I think that's a really interesting topic because I cannot believe how many people truly and seriously believe in this idea. But it's if you listen to their arguments, I'm not saying that I believe any of it, but I'm saying like it's not unrealistic to think that we are placing a certain amount of faith as individuals in all kinds of ideas, including scientific ideas, because the amount of investment it takes to truly understand scientific ideas and to go and understand like everything that went involved in us sending spaceships into space and seeing the Earth as like a round object and understanding all the components in science that help us understand the Earth, like that takes an enormous amount of investment, and sometimes it's just easier for people to take a different route and say no everything is a conspiracy, everybody is lying to me. And for all we know, maybe those ideas stem from other places, and nobody's ever asked them, hey, by the way, have you always just felt insecure about everything, and now have you just taken that insecurity and applied it to everything in your life, including the way that you understand the world around you?
And I think another part of it too it's looking at those people and saying, okay, we really disagree on this, but at the end of the day,
Don't call them stupid, right?
we want to live next to each other.
Yeah.
We want to still let's not vilify one another.
Right.
You know, let's find a way to still find other things to progress on together. Right? We don't have to draw the line in the sand just because maybe you've got a crazy idea and I disagree. We don't have to.
Sometimes you need boundaries.
We don't have.
you do
We
need
don't have to
boundaries.
draw the battle lines.
But you don't need to create enemies, especially in your community, because what ends up happening is when you treat people like pariahs, they start to really internalize this like rejection, and then they'll start to they'll wanna lash out. And for all we know, this might be the kind of person who like will take a gun out and walk into a place and be like, you guys all thought I was crazy, you guys thought I was just a conspiracy theorist or this blah blah, and you don't believe in my flat earth theory.
Well,
And for all we know, like these are just people who needed someone to listen to them and give
Shout
them
out
time
to Del Barrera over there. Kyrie told him the Earth was flat, so, so he's listening.
Hey, listen, we're totally open to the idea. If you want to present the argument and you want to join our panel next time,
I want to
contact
hear all
us.
about it.
NoHuCollective@gmail.com or go to NoHuCollective.com or Instagram to be part of the panel next time. But this was a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah.
I think we had a lot of fun and we talked about a lot of different stuff.
This was great.
We can go on and on forever. Trust me, this is really, really fun. We can keep it moving.
Intellectual breakdowns.
We should make this a routine.
I think
This
we
is
should
nice.
make a routine.
Yeah.
So maybe we
This is
can
great.
do it on Sundays. It'll be
Yeah,
our
sure.
Sunday Funday
If
activity.
anyone wants
Anybody
to
wants to
contribute
come?
topics,
You're welcome.
send
You're
us a
welcome.
message.
Bye.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's create community. Let's make the NoHu Collective a real thing,
And
guys.
another shout out to Parker Cafe.
Yeah, thank you,
Coffee.
Parker
Good.
Cafe.
Cheers.
Really good coffee.